Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, it's the start of another week here. It's Monday at Giga-Texas, and there's a lot of activity going on. And also, I've heard some rumors, I can't substantiate it, but we may have actually started seeing employees working today on the Cybertruck line, but I'm not really sure, and I did not see any indications of that throughout the video. But I thought I would at least pass that on. Some rumors that I'm hearing. Now for today in the video, a lot of things to see. We do a wide-ranging flight. We start off on the west side of the highway. You can see how the road work and the earthwork is really coming along now, and that road is being defined quite strongly on that west side of the clearing. Also, in the middle between the warehouse on wheels yard and where all of the contractors are parked, we can see more activity removing the last bits of the broken up concrete, which is remnants of some work that they did inside the factory many months ago. But it's been all broken up and it's almost completely been removed now, which is a great sign for work on that side of the highway. Now coming back over to the main factory, on that west main entrance, we see quite a bit more of that stainless steel being applied to the steel beams and columns, making that architectural tunnel right in front of the glass windows. You can also see that the plywood is still on the ground, protecting that nicer concrete and that trapezoidal raised section. But overall, the work here is definitely progressing. Now on the southwest corner, a big development is that there's a new temporary loading platform. This time, as you can tell by this image, it's for the second floor, and this is where we saw the windows removed in my previous video. So now we know that they're going to be loading more equipment and items into that part of the building. Now another thing that you can see actually right behind me here is that the crews are continuing to apply that white stain now on the north end of the building, and it's bridged over these two loading platforms that you can see on the building behind me, and they're really progressing. They're about 1/3 of the way across that north face already, which is great to see. Now the last area I want to pay attention to and point out some things to look for here in the intro is on the east side of the battery cathode plant. Now we've seen that they've been doing a lot of work on what looks like it may be a material handling structure with some walls, now with a poured concrete floor and a central section that has plumbing, possibly drainage pipes. We also see some of those big white tanks that have been stored next to the wall being ready to be moved today, which is very interesting. So I'm hoping we'll get a chance to see where that goes. And then farther to the north, we see more formwork, more rebar around that very interesting foundation that is kind of bowl shaped. And this is also on that east side of the battery cathode plant. So all of this may be related to some sort of raw material handling, but that's something I'll have to continue to watch. Otherwise, a lot more to see today. It is a very busy week, and I hope that you enjoy the video and what we talk about throughout the video. As always, thank you very much for your support. I do appreciate it, and have a great week. Take care.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. This morning we'll start off here on the west side of the highway. I want to give you a view of the earthwork that is going on to widen and improve the grade on this side of this overall site. And also you can see on the ground some geotextile membranes are being laid out. That's that kind of black material, and it's to strengthen and support the soil. And we'll see some more dirt placed on top of that and then gravel mix. Also in the middle, we can see the road work You can also tell that it has medians built in, and you can see where the intersections are connecting into each of these material staging locations as well. Right here in the middle, the remaining piles of the concrete that's been broken up. This was concrete that was removed from the factory many months ago as interior work was being done. It's been broken up. Some of this may also be some of the concrete from the south end, and it's being moved off-site for not only recycling, but to clear this area so that more work can continue, especially with the roadway and widening of this section. On the top of the screen, you can see the triangular parking lot for the contractors, very full today, and then the other material storage lot next to the houses, and it has a lot more materials there as well. So I'll bring the drone up and give you a good overall view of this west side. At the bottom of the screen, River Road and some of the concrete that's been put around that steel pole as well. And then overall, just how this section looks and where it is in relation to the factory. So let's get ready to cross over the highway, and we'll resume here on the south side, looking to the north, taking a look at the south end. You can also see just to the south of the Cyberpond that River Road extension that is continuing off to the east. Also near the tree line, almost all of the materials now have been removed. This also gives me an idea that potentially the small telephone poles on the ground may be being in the process of being removed soon as well. As we get over to this east side, this kind of a intersection is continuing to be developed. This is where that River Road extension will connect here. On the left, you see the forms and the rebar, probably be concrete, some of the more trenching, and the south and the east side, and the median that matches up with the continued median on the road that parallels the factory to the north. Now, this is an interesting development that I want to show you. The parking lot on the left, that gravel mix, has been removed. All of the vehicles and all of the equipment. The trailers have been moved over to where you see the vehicles now and into that new clearing location. And we see earthwork to remove some trees in preparation to continue to level this section out. And you can see quite a bit of earthworking machinery and the trucks on this site today. Also on this section, more of that dirt is being spread around and the grade is being prepared. This is the section where the multi-level parking garage permit shows where it may be constructed. And as we discussed on a previous video, now that the time period has passed for any public inputs to that permit, I think the decision's been made to allow this construction to begin, and I think that's what we're seeing here. So something to be watching for as a multi-level garage is built, most likely in this general location. This is a good view on the east side of the south part of Body in White and the north part of Stamping. A lot of the materials that continue to be delivered here. We see some wooden crates with blue tops, some of the green wrapped items, some of the white painted parts that are part of the assembly lines, and there's more here on the left side of this tall tower, and then some more items with the white wrapping. And all of this is continuing to be moved inside, some of it to the Stamping 2 on the south side, some of it into General Assembly, and also Body in White as they continue to prepare for additional production and also get the Cybertruck production capabilities ramped up, which is actually happening now. And we'll talk about that a little later. As I bring the drone down lower, this is where the rebar has been relocated, all of the rebar cages for the footings, and it looks like this is going to be a workshop also to continue to build more of these rebar cages. This also gives you a good ground level view across the River Road extension to the clearing on the south side where all of the materials pretty much have been removed, and those are those short and small power lines that I think are getting ready to be removed here soon. As I pan back towards the building, this is a good view of how the south end looks today. The cranes that are part of the continuous flight auger pier drilling system, still waiting for them to get back into operation. And then here on the south side of the opening, many more of these steel items. Many of them are beams. Some of them look like they may be columns or other supporting mechanisms. But these all been delivered here. There's actually some more on the ground floor inside next to this plastic and scaffolding temporary wall structure. You can also see the rebar sticking up out of the ground. That implies there's going to be some more wall structures built in there at some point in the future. And then as we look into this end of the West Bay, more of those crates still waiting for being unpacked. In fact, you can see some of them are being unpacked on the left-hand side, and then a good view inside this whole section. Now there's another plastic temporary wall on the far end, and that's dividing up this open section to what's inside, where some of the stamping presses and other machinery are in operation now. As I continue to pan towards the west, this is a good view of the south side of the building. Many of the contractor vehicles now on this side parked, and some of the equipment. You can see some of these steel beams as well, and all of this is being stockpiled now for future assembly. As I proceed further to the west along this side, a couple things that you see: the gravel pile is being slowly reduced as that gravel is distributed all over the south side. This well and the various pipes, looks like that work is really progressing now. Most of the trenches are being filled back in, and here you can see the two different kinds of pipes, the green pipe and the white pipe. Also some of the concrete manhole pipes and covers. And this is also a good view of some of the work that's going on in the main well here. And if you look at the crew, you can get a good sense of the scale as they are walking up on top and how large that opening is, and just generally how big that black well portion that's sticking up out of the ground. Looks like there's trench work going off to the north, and it's going to connect into where we see some more of those concrete manhole covers with some of the pipe work. I'm also showing you this new temporary platform. It's on the second floor. In my previous video, I showed you that the windows have been removed. Now we know why. They're going to be loading equipment onto the second floor through that temporary platform. This third floor temporary platform remains, and it is very active with a lot of equipment being moved inside. As we fly up to the north, I'll pivot over to this section. I want to give you a good idea of this material staging yard. A lot of the materials, some of them in white, these red kind of items that are possibly part of platforms for the assembly line process. It looks like a lot of them continue to be unpacked here, then moved inside, assembled, and then more continue to arrive. Speaking of which, here on the south side of the main entrance, more of the items are being delivered. You can see quite a bit of these white painted items all throughout this area. Some look like platform pieces, some look like columns or beams. Some smaller ones are being unloaded here by the crew off this truck. And it just, again, this is part of the interior assembly line process that is continuing while crews are actually, Tesla employees are on the Cybertruck line starting to finish up their training and getting ready for those lines to be operational. Crews here are continuing to add the stainless steel cladding to these steel beams and columns of this architectural feature in front of the doors. A lot of the plywood protecting that ground concrete and that trapezoid. And this is just a good view of how this is progressing. They're about, I don't know, not quite halfway through adding that cladding. The end of line section is getting somewhat more busy with Model Ys. They're coming out of the factory. They come over to these tents. They're checked out and then driven over to the east side. When we get over to the east, you're going to see that there is a lot of new Model Ys over there now. So great sign that Model Y production is ramping up following the line upgrades. And as I mentioned, there are rumors that crews are actually on the Cybertruck lines inside now, getting trained and getting those ready to go. So really exciting time here at Giga-Texas, and hopefully we'll start seeing some of those Cybertrucks popping out of the factory. This is just a close view of this ramp, some more of the crates and other pallets that go in and come out of that quite often, and that's part of General Assembly, the first one where the Model Ys are being built. Here at the 4680 section, we can get to see this Atlas Heavy. It almost sounds like a rocket, but it's a company that's providing some of the support here for the 4680 production process. And we can see this blue SPMT, or self-propelled modular transporter, waiting for additional work on the ground level. I'll bring the drone up and we'll fly over this northwest corner, just get a good view of these ducts and vents. Also, some of the solar panels that have been stacked here waiting for future installation. It looks like crews are moving some other equipment around, and they give you a really good idea of the scale of these enclosures as well. I'm going to bring the drone around the corner and then down, and I want to show you where the stain work is being applied now on the north side of the building. In fact, it's almost about a third of the way on this north side. They are working on both sides of these loading platforms. Around the windows, you can see some of the doors have had the plastic wrap and the protection wraps put onto them. Also some tarps on the ground as they continue this staining process. You'll note that around some of the doors, it looks like it's a slightly different color. That's because some of those panels are not concrete, they are temporary, and we'll have to see that changed at some point in the future as they continue to reconfigure this end. But it's great to see how much of the white stain is going on here on the north end. Down next to these two black doors, you can see some of the racks with the parts that are used to manufacture the bumpers for the Model Y. And then I'll bring the drone back up to show you the activity on this roof section over the casting machine structure. What the crews are doing is they're installing new vents. You can see some of those white vents that are completed. On the left-hand side of the screen, the crews are assembling one more of the bases for those vents. You can see the materials that they're putting together right now. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see another one of these vents has been installed, and then the crews are cutting the roof material, the insulation, and getting down to the roof decking so they can cut it, and then that frame that the other crews are working on will be placed here, and then they'll be able to finish this up. There's also some of these rectangular smaller frames with 4 legs being installed, and that's for some sort of equipment, and it's something I'll continue to watch for, and we'll be able to figure out what that will be at some point in the future. So I'm going to pull away from that section. We'll cross over the power lines, and we'll take a look at some of the activity on the east side today. This new car staging and calibration lot is very busy, and at the bottom of the screen you'll see this long line of brand new white Model Ys next to that test track, and many other ones nearby this section as well. Didn't get a chance to go over to see the new car staging lot close, but it was also busy today as well. As we get closer back to the building, I'll give you a view here along this side where they have many of these castings. Also this open section with the apron where more of that plumbing is being done before they reapply the concrete. And then here where the concrete has been trenched, some conduits have been installed. It looks like they're starting to fill in the trenches with that conduit. And this is where it'll eventually connect in to the existing conduit to power the building. And there's a good bird's eye view looking down at the widened apron, more of the conduit on the right-hand side, some more of the casting, some of the casting blanks in aluminum, and a quick view here at the corner inside this door, and also where you can see the panes of glass have been removed, and I still do not know why, but it's something I will continue to watch, and hopefully we'll get an early morning flight someday and take a look through there. This junction box looks like one of the covers is back on. They pumped out all of the water, and it looks like they're working more on the conduits. And then of course this lot here has been turned into a casting racking system with many castings, and they continue to build the castings, put them out here temporarily, then move them in, and they're used for the actual production. And here's a close view of a few of these. I believe those are Model Ys castings. As we cross over Tesla Road, we'll get a chance to look at the Megapack installation site today, and there is a lot of activity. We see A lot of these piles of gravel and dirt here. The work on the road on the right-hand side of the screen. As we cross over these workshops, we can tell that pretty much all but about 7 of the transformers have now been installed, and 24 of the eventual 68 megapacks have been installed as well. As we continue to look around this site, we see that most of the concrete slabs or pads have now been in place, so we'll see more of the transformers installed very soon. And I would expect later today and then through this week, we'll see more of the megapacks arrive. As we get up to the north end, I'll show you the steel structure here. Many of the insulators have been installed. The cable tray trench is ready to go. They are starting to get some of the bus breakers installed here, kind of those V-shaped items. And also somewhere in this section, we'll see some of the crews with some of the wiring over near the megapacks, which means that they're starting to do the wiring, and that's another great milestone, and that'll be obviously a critical part of getting the megapack system working. But here's a good view looking to the south over the entire site and how it looks today. And as we get closer, again, you'll see those crews with that spool on the bottom right. That's where they're already doing some of the wiring, and how the megapack installation looks right now with just 24 of the eventual 68. So they're still not halfway through the megapack installation. Here's a good bird's eye view looking down at how this section looks today. And as we continue over the power lines, I'll bring the drone back down. We'll get a good view of how the connection point here, the driveways on the right where the conduit is coming out, crossing underneath the power lines, and then this underground vault and how it looks today. Looks like most of the work is still over where the forms are, preparing to encase the top part with concrete. And once that is completed, then they'll start working their way further to the east along where you see all of that rebar. But this is a great view of some of the activity with this zoom in of the work that is being done and how this underground vault looks today. So as I pull away, this is a good view of where that underground vault is, the temporary electrical switch yard, and the ground that's been prepared here, the darker brown. This is where the conduit is extended up to that north section. You can see the concrete vaults where they go through, and then they branch from there to the east and then to the south. As I continue to fly to the south, I was going to look at where this excavator is and the concrete vaults, but one of the interesting things that I just noticed is this large delivery on this red truck. And I tried to get down, it just passed by, but that's part of the TKS paint systems that has been stored over on that material staging yard, as you can see in the upper right. And I'll try to get a closer view here shortly. But they've been moving some of that TKS, like you saw there, into the factory for installation, and they've also relocated some onto this new clearing. The old house is gone, as we mentioned. The kind of the planter or the fountain is the only thing now that is remaining, and you can see that right at the bottom of the screen. The power poles have been removed now, and again, this section where you see this open area, kind of the white tanks on the left, this is where all that TKS paint system was stored. And now it's just a lot more materials, and more are arriving today. And if on the right-hand side of the screen, as I continue to pull away, you'll see where that TKS paint system has now been moved. And this is a temporary location using that new clearing until they are ready to install those components as well. But between that and what we saw on the road, it's a great sign that that system is in the process of being installed here at Giga-Texas. Now, as I reach the east side of the battery cathode plant, there's a lot that's going on this side. So we'll spend some time and fly along this section and give you an idea of what's going on. First of all, on the left-hand side of the screen at the base of this wall, these 4 tanks or mixer tanks, looks like they're at least getting ready to be relocated. Maybe we'll see them moved inside soon, or maybe they're just clearing some space. But it's neat to see finally some activity with those tanks. On the left-hand side, some of the white and red items for more of the platforms for the machinery inside. And then here, this concrete slab with the walls, also this kind of small concrete vault on the south end, continues to see quite a bit of work. Now, the vault on the left-hand side bottom has had some plumbing put around it, and now they're filling in the trenching. This structure has got these walls with some openings on them. Also, the ground slab has now been poured, and in the center we see that kind of a trench with plumbing in it. It's probably a drainage system. And again, this may be part of the raw material storage of some sort. We'll have to see if the walls continue or if they're just going to be on the bottom third. But obviously a lot of work going on right now removing the forms, and that means that they're going to get ready for the next stage of construction, and I'm waiting to find out what that is going to be. Here in the bottom and middle of the screen, we see this kind of bowl-shaped concrete structure. Got these two openings or recessed sections in the middle. Now on either side we see frame and form work going on, a lot of rebar, and it looks like they're going to be pouring concrete here. It's kind of almost like a giant pad on top of this concrete structure, and it's just an interesting shape, and the fact that it's bowl shaped too is something that is different. I haven't seen anything like that here at Giga-Texas yet, so I'm continuing to watch to see what that will be. As I continue to pull back even more, next to this small structure, which is the cell test lab, you can see the bulldozers are filling in dirt over where the steel corrugated pipe has already been laid. And then at the bottom of the screen, we see this blue trench box. That's where more of that pipe, you can see a pipe segment there, is getting ready to be installed. And with the amount of pipe that we see on the upper right-hand side of the screen, there's going to be quite a bit more of that installed here. Now, the 4 stainless steel tanks have not moved. We do see some of the giant spools of the orange material that's going to be some sort of a sheathing or a conduit that's installed, along with more of the wires. And here the windows, looks like crews are still working on those small corner sections. The walls for the 5 receiving doors, looks like at least one of them is poured in concrete, the other one maybe, and they're getting ready to move those forms. And this is an overall good view of that north end of the plant, and also the west side with all of the steel corrugated pipe waiting for future installation. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see there's more water in those trenches where they're installing the pipe. They're pumping it out. That must be very frustrating for the workers to have to deal with all this water. And I'm not exactly sure why, because it hasn't been that rainy in the last couple of days. As we approach the chiller plant, I'm able to come down at a slightly different angle and altitude. You can get a good sense of the work that's going on the ground floor. See those white pipes with the terminations right now. It looks like those are going to continue to some other equipment. That open section next to the Evapco, still I haven't seen much as far as what type of equipment will be installed there. And then here where all the pipes, pumps, and tanks have been installed, it's still quite a bit of activity, and it still looks like more pipes are waiting to be installed here. The vaporizers and the nitrogen tanks, most of the work is on the south side where they've added that concrete, and then you can see trenching down that alleyway for some more of the pipes that are being installed. And that corner section looks like that trench work has been filled back in. On this corner, the concrete apron with the rails for the gantry crane looks like it's pretty much done. All the forms are gone. Looks like some materials have been installed, and then maybe we'll see the rail system installed into those grooves soon. This is a good view along the west side of the die shop. The roadway, the work being done to put the small insulating strips between each of the panels continues. Still waiting to see when they're going to install the doors and the windows. And then, of course, the black HDPE pipe installation here on the ground through those trenches continue. As we fly up over these shorter power lines, I wanted to give you a closer look. This is where that TKS paint system the remaining components are. And again, we saw some of those being moved on the road towards the factory earlier today. Oh, I wanted to stop here and show you, just look at all of the trucks that are bringing in equipment and items today. Now, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of those look like warehouse on wheels trucks. That would be very interesting, especially with the rumors of employees working on the Cybertruck lines today. So interesting and something I'll just continue to watch. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you appreciated the views and the flight paths that we were on and the information that was presented. I hope you have a great week, and again, take care.